Hello gamers, today I'm going to be talking about a very interesting game that I'm sure you have heard of or seen something on recently. That being the debut game from studio Wildlight Entertainment, Highguard, a game that has ever since its first announcement been coated in controversy, which is mostly the fault of the studio and Jeff Keighley for giving them the prime spot at the Game Awards, which I briefly touched on in my video about the Game Awards, but the marketing gets more questionable after that trailer. So they had the primetime spot at the Game Awards with an announcement for release next month at the time of the Game Awards, and then it seems the team went 100% radio silent, which they said was to work on the game, which is fair, but when you get announced at such a big event for the gaming zeitgeist, you need something to follow up with. If that something is just a social media post, but I checked their Twitter, which I know, ick. But the @Highguard account has never posted and does seem to be the official Highguard account. And then the Wildlight account hasn't posted since 2014. Now I don't know if they've deleted or had posts deleted or something like that, but either way it seems like they need to hire a social media manager, because that's just, yeah. As during that radio silence, everyone thought the game was just another run-of-the-mill hero shooter, because that's what the trailer at the Game Awards made it look like. But it does have something special to offer, which I will talk about very soon. First, I need to do a little PSA sort of announcement. Now, as you can tell by the gameplay, I only played one match of Highguard so far, and there are two reasons for that. The first being, it took me 30 minutes to find a match, with me trying both the 5v5 and 3v3 game modes, which I thought was due to the fact that I wasn't playing at a peak time. However, checking Steam DB whilst waiting in queue, the game was at the same amount of active players as its peak in the last 48 hours. So I don't know, maybe just no one playing in Australia, or New Zealand, or Asia probably. And the second point is I completely suck at this game. Now in the one game I played, it doesn't help my team all left, but I could not hit my targets to save my life. It's been a while since I have been playing FPS games. It's been a while since I've been good at FPS games. And even longer since I was great. The last time I was great was like Advanced Warfare, so that says a lot. However, I'm not going to let my awfulness at the game bias this video, as we move on to talk about that one thing that is special in the gameplay. Now, I mentioned before the game is more than just a hero shooter, which of course it is. I would be best to describe it as Apex Legends meets Siege, which makes sense as a lot of the team for this game apparently worked at Respawn Entertainment. Which, I mean, let's be honest, you are going to like advertise that your team came from Respawn if they did, instead of also mentioning maybe some that came from less than reputable studios under the EA banner. But you have a base which you reinforce to protect your base's generators, which the base has two of, much like a bomb perhaps. And then you go out into the world, collect guns and armor from chests that will very much remind you of Apex Legends, as you wait for something called the shield breaker to spawn in, which you must then collect before the enemy team and deliver it to their base's outer shield, which will open as the shield breaker breaks through. The shield will open long enough for you to plant a bomb on the base of one of the generators, which then the enemies do have a chance to defuse said bomb. But either way, if the generator is lost or not, the shields go back up, resetting the shield breaker, giving you more time to get re-geared up before spawning in, and then loop and repeat until both generators for one base have been destroyed, marking you the winner or loser Of course, there is more to the game, like you have heroes and there are powers and all this, but since I've only played one match, I won't be covering that. And let's be honest, we all know how hero shooters work at this point. One thing I did really want to talk about is what's happening outside of the game itself. So, if you keep up to date with gaming news, you would have heard recently that Wildlight are laying off a large amount of their team, which the company says is to sort of lean up and become more sustainable for the future of Highguard. But it's never a good sign when 2 weeks after release you are immediately laying off a large majority of your workforce. It's giving Concord, which is never a good thing. And like, according to LinkedIn, the positions they are laying off are not like junior developers, they're like leads of departments. So the game might be over before it's already started, which you don't like to see, but it's very explainable in my mind how this game has got here. Like, why did they get that #1 spot at the Game Awards? I think that was a problem. Hey, second last, I think would have done a lot better for them, because obviously putting them in the #1 spot at the Game Awards, it did give them an immediate boost in our player base that they probably wouldn't have had anyways. For example, Highguard at its max, which was 17 days ago when the game was first released at the time of recording this, had an all-time peak of 97,000 players, which is plenty. It's obviously dropped off a lot in the last week and a half. Now, as I actively look it up, not while I'm playing, but whilst I'm recording this audio, it's at 1,500 players with a 24-hour peak of 2,618, which is a lot lower than the 97,000 of that launch, but I still feel 2,000, like, that should be a successful game. But with the amount of money that's pumped into games these days, it's most likely not. Which I feel maybe is part of the problem. Maybe like Wildlight went into this expecting to immediately be a hit like Apex, which a lot of the previous team had worked on. So they went in perhaps overconfident in what that game will do, then causing them to have to immediately scale back and cut off so many people's jobs. I think something about it needs to be looked into. The game studios of the world need to take a deep look at themselves. Why are you making games no one wants to play? Especially hero shooters. Like, this game I think has been in the works since like 2023, but even then your hero shooters were so oversaturated, and also the love of the game was already being lost in your local gamers, because like, they're not going to be the next Overwatch. Because if you're an Overwatch player, you're going to play this game for a week, which is according to the player count they did, and then you're going to go back to Overwatch, your comfort game. The same with Marvel Rivals. The only reason Marvel Rivals was able to bite in to the pie that Overwatch and Apex have is, let's be honest, majorly because of the Marvel name. Like, people are like, oh, let's check out this game, it has the Marvel characters in. And then I'm guessing the developers, NetEase, threw so much people and devs and money into the game in the first couple weeks in order to keep that player base. And then, you know, you just release new provocative looking skins for Emma Frost, then you have a game for the next 4 years probably. But Highguard did not do anything good enough to break people away from their comfort games. Like, if you like base defense shooters, base defense FPSs, you're gonna play Siege. You'll probably be called the N-word by a 13-year-old, but you're gonna play Siege. And if you like hero shooters, you're gonna play Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. And if you just like shooters, you're gonna play Apex Legends, Valorant, Fortnite. It's just, stop making these sorts of games, developers. Like, I have looked into it and I can't find how this game was funded. They claim it was self-funding, which, if that's true, I hope that it was self-funded by millionaires who work at the company, because it would be a horrible thought to like have some sort of communal pool that your employees can put into, and then that money has now disappeared. And if this game does shut down soon, which it is looking like it unfortunately will, that money goes nowhere and the richer people probably don't feel the hit. I don't know. I don't know what it means when a game actually labels itself as self-funded. Because like, does that mean they went out themselves to find venture capitalists instead of putting it on someone else? I don't know. That's the big thing about Highguard. I don't know. I don't know how it's funded. I don't know why their advertising was so bad leading up to the game. I don't know why they had to lay off half their team. Were they expecting this? If so, why then bring on permanent people instead of just get contract work for the making of the game? I do not know why this game was made. Maybe you do. If you enjoy Highguard, let me know. I do admit the fact that I can't play the game is a factor to why I probably don't like it as much as I could have. But even that, the player count tells me not a lot of people like this game. But I don't know. Obviously the Steam reviews are very negative, probably because of its high position in the Game Awards. I feel that immediately gave people a bad touch. I wonder how many of the reviews are from people who have significant playtime in the game or not. I would bet not a high percentage. But anyways, there's been a sort of ramble, sort of video talking about Highguard, maybe more focusing on why game devs are still doing this. They shouldn't, like Skull and Bones, games like that should have taught you not to do this sort of thing. On the topic, I'm going to have a video on Skull and Bones coming out relatively soon. Not Skull and Bones as a singular game, but a more broad topic including Skull and Bones. So subscribe to see that, and I will hopefully see you then. Peace.